You're listening to the Bon Ray Show. It's 8 in the evening. Tune in every night at 8 to listen to the Bon Ray Show on Irish News Radio or itv.ie. And you can contact anything that you've heard or if anything you'd like to discuss at news@irishnews.net. It's the Bon Ray Show on itv.ie and Irish News Radio. Today is Monday and we're talking about the financial mess and how the Irish government, the disaster, disgusting, criminal, killing government, who so racist comments on the Irish last week about 1 in 6 Irish that are working here weren't born here. His complete prejudice against the indigenous race is disgusting. But while he focuses on his little dream and the rest of the EU puppets in the Irish government, they're all corrupt. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, Sinn Féin, all of them are corrupt. While they focus on their little dream of Britain staying in the custom union, which will not happen because the English are not fools. They're not just looking at one game. They are aware that Germany's government is about to collapse. And they've got maybe 2 months left. And the reason why the German's government is about to collapse is because of immigration. And the reason why the British voted for Brexit was because of immigration. While the Irish government is in complete cuckoo land and denial of this fact. So they will be out by the German government, they say, by Christmas time. So even before Brexit happens, the German government is to collapse in the next few weeks. Not to mention that Italy also has sent back loads of the immigrants, have had enough. Not to mention all the Eastern European countries have had enough and started fighting back with the EU. Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, all of these countries have had enough. Austria's had enough. Italy's had enough. Germany, their own people are more interested in focusing on Germany than what's happening in the EU. So while the Irish government is still in cuckoo land and convincing all the little fools in Ireland that it's the Brexit is the only problem, Brexit is only part of the parcel of why the EU is about to collapse. But while we're only watching one football match and not focusing on any of the other games that are happening, we're living in cuckoo land if we actually believe that they will stay in the custom union. What will happen is that every country can apply to live in the UK, and it'll be done by a point system. You'll get a visa if you qualify and you have the points, like the Leaving Cert or the GCSEs or the A-levels. If you don't get the points, you won't get in. It won't be anything, as the stupid leftist scum say, it's to do with racism. It won't have anything to do with racism or colour or anything. If you're brown or black and you qualify and they need you in the country, whatever, your doctor or your whatever your qualification is, and that they need you, you will go in. You will get a visa and you will qualify on a point systems. If you're a mass murderer or you're unemployed or you're a gang rapist or you're a rapist or whatever, if you just want to get in because you're Muslim and you want to take the dough, you won't get in. And that is life, and that is the way a country should be run. Leaving the custom union is what will give them safety, everybody. But because the Irish have gone, the Irish government has been antagonising the British, we will have to probably qualify for the visa system too, if we keep antagonising them and not wisen up. It's not just the British. It's the Germans, it's the Italians, it's the Austrians, it's most of Eastern Europe. They're all having a problem except for the stupid country of Ireland, because we don't know what people think because they've been told to shut up because they're racist. But the rest of them are all waking up and have had enough, and that's why they're fighting back. And while we keep focusing on Brexit instead of helping them and kind of going, we should go out too, we're like, oh no, because we only think that Brexit is the only country that will be leaving the EU. The whole of the Eastern Bloc, most of them are unhappy. Italy are sending them back. Austria have had enough. All of them have had enough. So it's time that we wake up and listen into this programme, because here is the only place you hear the truth, on ITV.ie, Irish News Radio. It's the Bavarian Show, talking about the disgusting government we have in place, and Michael D. Higgins, he'll probably get back in, even though he signed the eviction bill, he signed the death penalty for babies, he signed the water bill. Yes, the Irish are so easily gullible. Either it's completely rigged all the time, or we are seriously gullible. How could we bring a man back in who signed even the eviction bill, and we 10,000 homeless? And we argue about immigration is racist, but we allow our own people down the street, while Leo goes on about non-Irish being more hard-working and working more than the Irish. Disgusting, racist comments. And if it was said about any other race, there'd be uproar. But because it's said about the Irish, it's okay. And that is not okay. None of this is okay. We should have a country for the Irish, like our independence and sovereignty, like our forefathers died and killed for. Not this open border, anyone can come in, whether you're a gang rapist, murderer, whoever you are. We are not going to look at it because it's racist. That is just stupidity. And the end of our nation, and the end of everything, our safety, our livelihood, our children's livelihood, our grandchildren's safety, because of a stupid leftist scumbag governments in place. We've all should just wake up. Not only are you sacrificing your country and your life, you're sacrificing your children and your grandchildren's. This is not. People coming to Ireland should have a point system like any other normal, sensible country outside the stupid EU. That if you qualify and if you can bring something to Ireland, yes, fair enough, come in. And if you're a genuine refuge, absolutely, a tiny percentage, but not to take over the indigenous population or to be a threat to them. And to be real refuge, not taking in Africa. Africans are not at war. The only ones in danger are the white Africans. And they're the ones who've been racist. They're the ones who are racially discriminated against. They're taking blacks before whites, which is completely racial discrimination against them because they're white. And as for Muslims, seem to be getting in, and all from Syria, they're not in danger. Christians from Syria are in danger. And we need to look at that Syrian situation to see what's really happening. Is it the white helmets stories about Assad? Because Assad needs his people back. They all should be shipped off back and start rebuilding the country, because the war is over. So Assad needs his people back. So we need all of them to be shipped off. If they came in under so-called Syrian refugee, the war is over in Syria. Go back and build up your country. And maybe we can help them build up their country. But the idea is not to put us in danger. We need a system to protect the Irish and the Irish way of life. Thank you for listening on The Bavarian Show and Irish News Radio and ITV.ie. If you want to talk about anything, or you want anything said or discussed or know anything, it is news, irishnews.net. Thank you very much for listening. And keep listening in, because this is a station that tells the truth and tells it as it is, unlike the rest of them who are living in little fantasy. So thank you again for listening to The Bavarian Show. You're listening to The Bavarian Show. On Monday, we're talking about the financial mess on Irish News Radio and ITV. So there's two main parts of the stories today that we're talking about. One is Brexit and the other is Germany. Okay, so Brexit, Ireland is convinced that England, the UK, will have a deal of staying in the custom union, which is a little more of their little fantasies that they like to tell themselves. Because they've been watching their game rather than playing a game which they should be focusing on getting Ireland out, but instead they're insistent on focusing on what the British are doing and what their game is about. And so now their new thing is, they'll stay in the custom union. The British will leave without a deal more and more, and the reason being is Germany is collapsing the control of Germany in the EU, and the Germans have had enough. So that is collapsing by its ears. We'll go to that in a minute in the Bavarian elections. But for now, we'll talk about the Brexit, that the Irish are so insistent that they will stay in the custom unions. The British aren't going to stay in the custom unions. It has collapsed already. They won't do a deal where they'll even be staying in for 2020. The reason is because Germany is in a state. After the Bavarian elections comes, they have the worst election for her party in 60 years. The party at one stage was out of a government the longest time after post-war. She's lost the majority. Now, she was only being held up by another party. And the main reason is because the stance on immigration. And Bavaria is 13 million. It's the biggest area of Germany. People are talking she could be out by December. She just wants to keep on attacking her people in Germany and saying, it was to do with populists and all that sort of stuff, rather than dealing with the Germans are not happy. They didn't ask for this massive immigration into their country. They didn't ask for the danger zones. They didn't ask for their women and children to be raped. They didn't ask for any of this. It was forced on them very undemocratically, and they're not happy. And until she faces that, which is too late for her anyway, and her party, it's the highest, they've lost the highest amount since post-war. So that has maybe 2 months. They don't really know, but it doesn't look like it's going to last. Her political authority is in a state of decline, and she is in, like the Irish, in a state of illusion. If she keeps attacking the right, she thinks that somehow they're going to change their mind. Germans are focusing on Germany rather than the EU, and they want the forced immigration to stop in their country. They want control of their borders. They want control of their country back. And this is the reason why Britain will be leaving without a deal. So it didn't come as a shock to anybody watching that the Bavarian elections that she'd lost 37. So for now is to watch what's going to happen in Germany. It's the worst elections in 60 years. As I said, that were left without a government for the longest period since post-war. So it's the worst election in 60 years. So she has lost the majority. So that is something to keep an eye on. Now back to Britain. The Irish and their little illusions, thinking that they're going to stay in some sort of custom union. The English are not staying in any custom union, and they won't be in it until 2020. Instead of Ireland playing their own game, they're concentrated on watching what the British are doing and trying to make up little stories and hope that those little stories come true. The English will be leaving. The reality is the British will be leaving by March. They won't be staying in a custom union. They won't be staying in anything. The reason why they voted for Brexit was immigration again, a thing that was forced on them again. They didn't want. The reality is, if you're in the EU, you will have to get a visa into the UK. If if you're in the EU or outside the EU, everybody will be treated the same. You will need a visa into the country. And it'll be done on point systems like it is in America, Canada, Australia. If you are needed as a worker, as a skill that they need in the country, you will get in and they'll have no problem. But if you're going there to take social welfare, or you're going there to do a job the British, you won't be able to get in. Now, the difference is Ireland has a history with the British, so it'll be different. They'll have to organise something with that. But the way the Irish are going about the British, with their little stupid illusions, by the time Brexit happens in March, the British may have had enough of the stupid EU puppets and the rent boy, Leo, that they may just decide, you know what, you can have the same treatments as the rest of everybody in Europe or in the EU or in the world. We've had enough of this because you've done nothing but back the EU. You haven't supported us in any way, even though this is what the country voted for and wanted. Instead, you wanted to do what you did to your own country, which is totally undemocratic, and force them to vote again and vote again until you get the results that you wanted. So they may have had enough of us, and we may just get treated like everybody else, which would probably, serve the bloody government right. I mean, it's not serving the Irish people and their stupidity of listening to our stupid media, all run by Dennis O'Brien. So this is why it's important to listen to this station, share it with your friends, get the real news. Britain will not be staying in the custom union. It will not be staying in the EU. And the reason is because Britain don't just watch one football match. They watch what's happening on the other matches to know what's going on. They know Germany's in a bad way. The government's about to collapse. The only one who's an EU master will be France left. But Le Pen has got a strong following. So, once the vote comes up again, and it was always dubious whether that vote would really happen, whether a lot of Le Pen's votes were soiled on purpose. He's the only one in where Merkel can't keep it together. More than likely, people are predicting 2 months she'll be out, but I don't know. But I certainly say by next year she will be gone. And by the time the British are leaving, March, possibly she'll be gone then, or she'll be very much on her way out. And the British will know that. So this is why that the British will not be staying in any little fantasy custom union that the Irish government likes to take.
You are listening to Irish News Radio at irishnews.net. Email news@irishnews.net.